The journey was quite long. It was dark already, so I had already packed all the necessary items. I freshened up, checked the car's air, filled up the fuel, and set off on that rough road. For the first couple of hours, nothing happened. I was passing through a very deserted area, and it was quite dark. Anyway, while driving, I felt like something quickly passed from one side and hid on the other side. It moved at lightning speed. My mind couldn't process it. I immediately stopped the car and got out to check. I was quite surprised. Anyway, I got back in the car and continued the journey. After driving for a while, I came across two turns. I was confused. There were no signals and no people. I guessed and took one of the turns. I had a feeling like when sometimes a person feels like something bad is about to happen, there's a voice from inside. That's exactly what was happening to me. Anyway, I ignored it as a delusion. I kept driving quietly. Now, 2 hours had passed and the road seemed strange. It felt like I was on the wrong path because I had been here before, and it wasn't this deserted. But now it was completely silent and deserted. I was tired because I hadn't slept well. I stopped the car at a suitable place and lay down to rest. I locked the car from inside and closed my eyes. Suddenly, I felt like someone knocked on the window. I immediately opened my eyes, but there was no one there. I thought it was better to stay in the car. I thought maybe some kid was playing a prank, but how could a kid be in such a deserted place? Many questions were coming to my mind. I closed my eyes again and tried to rest. After a while, the same thing happened again. When I opened my eyes, there was a girl standing outside the car. Her head was down. At first I was shocked to see her, wondering what she was doing there. I rubbed my eyes and looked again, but there was no one there. I immediately understood that this was something else. I tried to start the car, but it wouldn't start. When I got out to check, the car had overheated. I was surprised how it overheated so suddenly. I was very confused. I thought I'd wait for a while. I locked the car and went out to check the surroundings. I hadn't gone far when I felt like someone was walking behind me, taking heavy steps. Let me tell you, alhamdulillah, I am quite brave. I'm not praising myself. Maybe it's the blood of my ancestors, as I belong to a famous warrior tribe of ancient India. Anyway, I wasn't scared of that sound. I kept walking and got quite far from my car. Suddenly I heard my car's horn from a distance. At first I didn't understand and started running towards my car, but then I stopped and thought maybe it was a trap. I stayed there and slowly approached my car, hiding behind a tree so no one could see me. When I looked at my car, there were some very tall people standing, as if waiting for someone. They were waiting for me. I quietly watched them. Quite some time passed. My eyes were still on them, but they stood still. Suddenly I heard someone breathing near my ear. Strangely, instead of being scared, I got angry and shouted, "What is this misbehavior?" At this, those tall people turned towards me and ran at me as if in great anger. I realized I had made a mistake. Instead of running, I closed my eyes and started giving the azan loudly, which is an Islamic way to call to prayer. As soon as I did this, everything stopped. When I finished the azan and opened my eyes, there was nothing there. Went to the car and tried to start it, but the same problem persisted. That means those creatures were still around. I felt like someone was watching me, a very strong feeling. I got out of the car and started checking the surroundings. I saw 2 lights in the distance. I became alert. But when I looked closely, it was a truck. It came near me and stopped by itself. I was very happy and hopeful. 2 men got out of the truck and were surprised to see me. We greeted each other. I told them everything. One of them started my car, and it started on its own. I was very surprised, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk further and left from there. Let me tell you, after the truck left, when I drove the car, just a few seconds later I heard a very heavy voice in my ears. It was speaking in a strange language I had never heard before. I still remember the words it said in Pashto, but I'll tell you what it meant. It meant, "You were lucky this time." The way it spoke, it felt like it was saying, "You survived this time. But if you pass this way again, you won't survive." The next day I got a fever that lasted 3 or 4 days. So, this was a short story. Not that terrifying, but I thought you'd like it. Let's move to another story. My elder brother and I both work, and every year during Ramadan, we work night shifts. I used to go to work by bike and my brother by auto rickshaw. My daily routine was to leave home an hour before morning starts. When I returned home, my brother would call because where we live, you can't find a rickshaw at night. So, I used to go pick him up. This happened when nighttime was about to end when my brother called and I went to pick him up. The road I had to take passes by 3 graveyards. While riding, my bike speed was at least 90 plus. From a distance, I saw someone in white clothes walking. I noticed it wasn't a human. Its height was much taller than a human, and its hands reached below its knees. Believe me, I was terrified. I didn't have the courage to look back at it. And yes, I forgot to mention, there are a lot of dogs on that road who never bothered me. But that day, after I saw that creature, my bike started losing power. It wouldn't go above 40 speed, and the dogs kept barking and chasing me. I was scared and didn't look back. When I reached a crossing, the dogs stopped chasing, and my bike started working fine. But the story doesn't end here. When I brought my brother home, I had a severe fever. There's a doctor near our house, who was our family doctor. He was called and checked me. He gave me medicine. One more thing. I have a separate room at home where I stay alone. Even if someone comes, I send them out. After that day, I stopped working night shifts. But often, when I slept at night, my body would be at least 6 inches above the bed, and I would feel very anxious while sleeping. When I woke up, I would be drenched in sweat, even though the fan was on. One night I was sleeping. It was around 3 a.m. when my mother fell ill. My father came to wake me up and was shocked to see me. He saw that I was sleeping in the air, above the bed. But as soon as he called my name, I suddenly fell on the bed and woke up. After that, my father told me that my mother was ill, so I went and called the doctor and got medicine for my mother. But my father didn't tell me what he saw. So this was my story. Hope you'll share it. Let's move to another story. This incident happened to my father about 5 or 6 years ago. My father is a very religious and simple man. He had an old habit of walking to and from his shop every day, even though he had a motorcycle. He said walking keeps you healthy, calms the mind, and keeps the body fit. He owned a shop where he used to work until 1 or 2 a.m. and then head home. One night, around 2:30 a.m., he closed the shop and left for home. The streets were deserted. There were light clouds in the sky and a strange silence in the city that you only see in a big city at night. On the way, he took out his phone and called my mother, asking if he should bring anything home. My mother said yes. If possible, bring 5 something to eat. Everyone is hungry, he said okay, and stopped at a nearby hotel. When he asked the worker to pack the food, he found out the worker was in the washroom. My father was getting late, so he took the food himself, packed it carefully, left the money on the counter, and left. As a shortcut, he turned into a big but deserted alley. During the day it was a normal passage, but at night it was completely deserted. On both sides were old walls, closed shops, and broken streetlights giving off dim light. He was walking fast when suddenly a car stopped next to him. The car was a middle-aged man with a heavy voice. "Do you want to go? Sit, I'll take you." My father didn't stop, just replied, "No, brother, I'm walking," but the man insisted. His voice deeper, almost forceful. "Sit, it's getting late." My father quickly walked ahead, feeling uneasy. He looked back, and his heart stopped. There was no car, no man. The street was completely deserted. Complete silence. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding, and hurried home. He opened the door, put the food in the kitchen, and went to bathe without saying anything. When he came back, my mother asked, "I asked for food for 5 of us. Why are there only 2?" My father was shocked. He opened the packing, and half of the food was missing. He said, "How is this possible?" I put it myself. The room fell silent. My mother said maybe he was mistaken, but my father just said, "I don't know." But I won't go through that alley again. Anyway, another incident happened to my father about a year after the first one. Again, it was night, in the same deserted alley where the strange car man appeared. That night, after closing the shop, he saw a beautiful, colorful balloon on the road. It was brand new, fully inflated, floating just above the ground. He thought maybe it belonged to a child and had fallen. He decided to take it home for me. He picked up the balloon and walked home with a slight smile. When he got home, everyone was asleep. He tied the balloon to the wardrobe so it wouldn't fly away and went to bathe. When he came back, the balloon was gone. The door was closed, windows shut, everyone asleep. He was in the kitchen and no one else was in the room. Where did the balloon go? My father, surprised and worried, went to the balcony. He looked down and saw the balloon on the floor, but it was moving as if someone was pulling it. Like two children playing with it, but no one was visible, no shadow, no sound, just the balloon moving as if in invisible hands. He stood there for a moment, then quietly went back to his room, his face serious and eyes confused. He just said, "I won't go through that alley again. Some things are not meant for humans. They're just shown to us." These two incidents are my father's real experiences. Sometimes there are things in this world that we can neither understand nor explain. They pass by us like a whisper, leaving us in wonder. If you liked this story, share it with those who believe in the unseen. Let's move to another story. My father works abroad and comes home only once a year for a month or two. When his holidays ended and he was going back, we went to drop him at the airport. It was around 1 a.m. and we had booked a Honda Civic. When we were returning after dropping him, we saw a strange man who wasn't wearing slippers or shoes. This happened in the area that is considered very scary. There's a factory that caught fire and is now closed. Strange sounds often come from there. We were passing that area when we saw a man. He looked human, but seemed strange. There were 3 of us in the car. Me, my cousin, and the driver. We had already dropped my father at the airport. That man was staring at me as if he knew me or wanted to say something. Even though our car windows were tinted, his eyes were fixed on me. I was sitting in the back seat and got very scared. His eyes were very hard, and his feet looked strange. It's been about 5 or 6 months, but I still remember his gaze. He was watching my every move. When we went a little further, I told my cousin. We stopped the car and looked back, but the man had disappeared. Not even 10 seconds had passed, and he was gone. It was around 4 a.m. A similar incident happened a year ago. Whenever my father leaves, we go to drop him at the airport. A year ago, after dropping him, there were 4 of us in the car. Me, my cousin, the driver, and my cousin's friend. We were returning. It was around 3 a.m. Near that dangerous place, we saw a girl. The same place where we saw that strange man 6 months later. The girl's face wasn't clear, and it seemed like she was talking to someone. But there was no one around, and it was very dark. You might think I'm joking, but I'm not. The girl was wearing a wedding dress, and her feet looked like they weren't there or were above the ground. We all saw her and got very scared. We immediately sped up the car to 70 and left. That place was really scary. I hope you'll share my story if you like it. Let's move to another story. The story I'm going to tell today is a true incident of my uncle, which he told me himself. This happened about 15 years ago. I used to live in a village. It was winter and sugarcane harvesting season. Our land is quite big and it takes 10 to 12 days to harvest. Every morning, I would get ready, leave on my bicycle, work all day, and return in the evening. The road to the land was rough and passed right by a graveyard. Going there was easy as it was downhill, but coming back was uphill, and the silence and air of that road felt strange. One night it was already 12 a.m., very late and extremely cold. I was returning from work. There was a torch on my bicycle, but even in its light, the road looked very scary. As I reached the graveyard, I suddenly heard jackals howling. My neck turned towards the graves on its own. Out of fear, I couldn't see anything. Suddenly, someone pushed me hard. I fell off the bicycle, broke my toenail, and started bleeding. The pain was unbearable. I looked around, but there was no one, just a cold wind and a deathly silence. I gathered my courage, picked up the bicycle, and started again. But this time, the bicycle started moving very fast on its own, as if someone was pushing it from behind. It was uphill, but the bicycle was going up like the wind. Then suddenly, I was thrown off again, this time landing on my chest. I was hurt, and I swear I thought I wouldn't make it home. I picked up the bicycle again and started walking with the torch. I was scared, wondering what was happening to me. But what happened next still haunts my nights. In front of the graveyard, 12 children were playing, but they didn't look human. Their faces were burnt, blood was flowing from their eyes, but they were all laughing and playing as if it was Eid. I froze, couldn't move my feet. For 5 minutes, the children played among themselves. Then suddenly, they all looked at me and started running towards me, screaming. I left the bicycle and ran for my life. When I looked back, there was no one. I ran back to the bicycle, got on, and started shouting. But again, I felt someone was pushing my bicycle hard. When I looked back, one of the children was pushing me and laughing loudly. His face is still in front of my eyes, completely burnt, eyes red, blood flowing from his lips. I somehow managed to get away from there. When I thought it was over, I heard crying from behind. When I looked back, the same children were staring at me and crying loudly. Their screams, their bloody eyes, their burnt bodies, I still remember everything. After that, I had a fever for 4 days. Every night those children came in my dreams. Their faces, their laughter, their crying drove me crazy. Then I went to a religious elder. He said, "Those children wanted to play with you, but they weren't human. They wanted to make you one of them." He gave me an amulet, and only then did I find peace. So, this was my true story. If you like it, please upload it. If you want, I can send you a picture of the road where this happened to me. Let's move to another story. I currently live in Dubai. Now, let me tell you about 2 incidents that happened to me. Sorry for saying 2, because one happened one day and the other a few days later. The first incident was on a normal day. A distant relative, who is a tailor and has a shop in my grandmother's village, called me at 10 p.m. the night before Eid to say my clothes were ready. The village is 40 minutes from my city. I left alone on my motorcycle at 11 p.m. in our area. Everything closes by 9 o'clock or 10 p.m., and it becomes completely silent. On both sides of the road were guava orchards and a deserted road in between. There was no light. After about 30 minutes, suddenly, I felt a hard slap on my chest. With the speed of the bike, the slap was very hard. I barely managed not to fall. When I looked back, I saw some white smoke, and everything went dark. My heart started beating fast. Somehow I reached the tailor shop, left the bike, went inside, and collapsed in front of him. I couldn't see anything, just heard relatives' voices. Later, when I went to the doctor, he said I had encountered a group of jinn. One of them slapped me to protect his family. If they had been harmed, I wouldn't have survived. The second incident happened a few days later. Some young friends and I decided to go for 3 days of religious preaching. We were sent to a village in the mountains. We reached the place, but there was already a group there. The locals told us our location was a bit further. We walked there. It was a mosque with only 4 mud houses nearby. We prayed, ate, and rested. Then we went to another village to buy some things. On the way back, we sat under a tree in an open area to eat. Then a friend said there's something there. At first we ignored it, but when 3 or 4 friends said the same, we saw a black shadow that wasn't clearly visible. It was so scary that we all ran in different directions, but somehow all reached the mosque. We didn't tell anyone. We friends slept outside. At 1 a.m., my friend woke me up, saying there was something in front. Saw a very tall shadow, at least 15 feet tall. Shone a torch and saw its eyes were white and red, with long bat-like ears. Even in the torchlight, it looked like a shadow. It kept trying to come closer. I had a weapon with me, but I knew this creature wouldn't be scared of weapons. I tried to go forward, but my friends stopped me. We watched it for 2 hours. It watched us but didn't come closer. Then I fell asleep. I woke up at the time of the morning. My friends said they stayed awake, but were too scared to make a sound. The next day, we decided not to stay there. We packed our things and went back to the center, spending the remaining 2 days there. This was my short story. Let's move to another story. This incident happened when I was very young, about 2 or 3 months old. When I was born, my father says the doctor said I had diabetes and a brain tumor. I still remember, as I grew up, there was a small lump on my forehead. My father says it was summer vacation, my siblings were off from school, and my father worked at a different city. My siblings insisted on going with him, so he borrowed the keys to a friend's empty house, and we all stayed there. A few days passed, and my eldest sister, who was about 10 or 12, was putting me to sleep on a cot. There was a cupboard behind her. Suddenly she felt someone blow on her. When she turned around, there was no one. She immediately ran to my mother, who was washing dishes, and told her everything. At night, when my father returned from duty, my mother told him everything, but he said she was just imagining things. The next day, something strange happened. My family says I was sleeping on the cot when a pigeon came and sat near my head. Everyone was scared it might hurt me. When they tried to scare it away, it wouldn't go. Even when they tried to move it by hand, it would fly around the room and come back to sit near my head. At night it would leave. Then one day, my father says he saw some dwarf-like people come in a line and go under the cupboard. My father says when he saw this, he got scared but stayed quiet, fearing the children would get scared and insist on going back, which would mean he'd have to take leave from work. During those days, my mother kept telling my father that the house was haunted. My father says he was very worried about my tumor. On one hand, the doctor had said that if I had surgery at this age, I might die. So he just wanted to keep me as long as God willed. My father says he was very stressed and was chain-smoking. Everyone else was asleep, and he was sitting in the courtyard when he suddenly saw a very tall man standing by the wall. You might know that village houses have big courtyards. My father says the man was so tall that when he put one foot inside the wall, and when he lifted the other, my father thought he would put it on him, but he put the other foot outside the house. His one step was bigger than the house. My father says he wanted to wake everyone and leave immediately. In 2002 or 2003, that place was like a jungle. He decided to come home early from work the next day and take us away. When he returned from work and knocked on the door, my mother happily ran to him and said, "Congratulations. Come inside quickly." My father thought maybe my uncle had come. But when my mother took him inside, the big lump on my forehead had shrunk to a small one. My father was very happy and thanked God. After that day, nothing unusual happened. Later, when my father returned and told someone about the incident, that person said that good jinn lived there and the house had been empty for a long time, which caused the problems. Later, when we moved to a new house, I have no issues now, and all my medical reports are clear. I have many real incidents that happened to my family, including black magic that I saw with my own eyes. Let's move to another story. I thought I'd share a truck driver's incident with you. This happened to me 3 months ago. It was a very terrifying incident. When I leave Chennai for Nepal with a truck, I face different situations on the way. After this incident, I stopped going on that road. It was a Monday. I was taking my truck to Nepal. When I reached a deserted area, there was no one for miles, no population, just a lonely, deserted road. I've mentioned before that I prefer quiet places, so I always choose deserted highways that go straight to my destination. As I was moving forward, I suddenly saw a small child sitting in the middle of the road. I immediately stopped the truck and asked him, "Son, why are you sitting here? Where is your home?" "What are you doing alone on this deserted road?" he replied. "I'm lost." "Give me a lift. Just drop me ahead." I said, "If I take you ahead, who will know you there? How will you go home?" Hearing this, he looked at me strangely. His voice was so heavy that I got goosebumps. He said, "Do as I say, or you won't be able to leave here alive." Hearing this, I laughed and said, "You don't even have the strength to take a slap and you're trying to scare me. Do you know how much bigger I am than you?" But as soon as I said this, his eyes turned red, and he suddenly became as tall as me. Then I realized this was no ordinary child, but something else. I immediately tried to run to my truck, but I was about 20 minutes away from it. As I was about to get in the truck, he grabbed my neck from behind and threw me out. As soon as I hit the ground, everything went dark, and I fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital. My head was bleeding, and my boss and family were standing in front of me. The doctor said I was in a coma for 2 days because of a head injury that affected my brain. I didn't remember what happened to me. Today, I am completely fine. But many such incidents have happened to me, some related to truck drivers and some to my family. Let's move to another story. The story I'm going to tell today is a terrifying truth. It's a reality that is still whispered among truck drivers in Pakistan. This is the story of 2 truck drivers, Ilyas and Rashid, who spent a night that was beyond human endurance. It was a freezing night on December 1st, when they were making a dangerous journey from Kota to Gwada. This road is deserted and rocky even during the day, but at night it feels like a nightmare. Ilyas and Rashid were old truck drivers from Kota, who claimed they feared nothing. Their truck was loaded with expensive electronics and clothes to be delivered to the Gwada market. At midnight, they left Kota. The road was deserted, the temperature below zero, and darkness all around. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in the middle of the road. It wasn't an ordinary thing. It was floating in the air. As soon as the truck's headlights hit it, Ilyas saw a terrifying face, burnt features, deep hollow eyes, and a devilish smile. "Rashid," scared, said Ilyas, "this is not an ordinary thing. Get out of here quickly. Ilias pressed the accelerator and sped up the truck, but it wasn't over yet. The shadow was left behind. Suddenly, someone started laughing inside the truck. But there were only 2 people in the truck, so where was the third laugh coming from? The laugh was cold and painful, as if someone was being forced to laugh. Ilias started reciting Quranic verses, and as soon as he started, the laughter stopped. But then something even more terrifying happened. Suddenly, a bloodied hand appeared on the truck's windshield, as if someone was trying to get in from outside. Rashid screamed, "Where did this hand come from?" Ilias tried to use the wipers, but the blood kept spreading, as if someone had poured red paint all over the glass. At that moment, the truck's speed started decreasing on its own, as if someone was pressing the brakes. Ilias pressed the accelerator with all his strength, but the truck kept slowing down. Suddenly, a deep ditch appeared in front of them, and the truck's wheel was just a few inches away from it. If the truck had gone 1 inch further, they would have fallen straight into the ditch. The last sentence that is still heard today. In that silence, suddenly, a whisper was heard inside the truck. "You survived today, but next time, I'll be waiting." Ilias looked back, but there was nothing, just the same shadow dissolving into the air. After that night, Ilias and Rashid decided never to take that road again. But even today, on cold December nights, many drivers say they have seen that shadow floating in the air. Some drivers are still missing. This is not just a story, but a truth, because death always walks behind, and sometimes it is visible. I have been listening to your channel for a long time and sincerely pray for you. Your stories are not just stories, but a passion, a feeling. Let's move to another. The incident I'm going to tell today was not just a dream, maybe something more. These days I work in delivery. Every night I come home at 2 or 2:30 a.m., sleep and wake up at 7:30 a.m. If I don't get enough sleep, I come downstairs and try to sleep again. But this morning, I was very restless. I fell asleep and had a strange dream. I saw all my family, children, and elders in the park. The scene in the park was strange. Many police officers were running around as if a big crime had happened. I brought everyone home. Our lower floor is usually empty. When I looked out the window, I saw a small man with no hair on his head and a big mouth peeking in and smiling. I got scared and reached out to hit him, but a hand came from below. That hand was neither human nor animal. It had only 3 fingers and was longer than his body. I somehow freed myself from his hand. He kept trying to get in, kept stopping him. Then I felt he had come inside. I couldn't get up and the same hand came again. This time I saw it clearly. The creature was a small, human-like being, but its hands were long like an octopus. It slowly came near me and knocked me down with one hand. Then I woke up. But when I woke up, my body wouldn't move. I had sleep paralysis. My head hurt badly. Sometimes a hand would come to my head, sometimes my chest. I couldn't understand anything. Let's move to our last story for today. I want to share a story from my childhood when I was about 10 or 12 years old. It was when we had to go to a party area where there were government quarters and a government hospital. We got the address for the party. And the 3 of us, me, my father, and my mother, we were going on one bike. But since we didn't know the address properly, we stopped near a big tree to check the way. Just then, a small boy, about 10 or 12 years old, crossed the road and came to us. He had a bag in his hand, came and said, "You have to go to Suchansach's house for the party, right?" We were surprised and said yes. Told us to go from the path under the tree, then immediately left. But my father didn't believe him, and we started to go the other way. Suddenly, believe me, there was no wind or storm, but a huge tree fell to the ground with a loud thud. We stopped and watched in amazement. People gathered there. When we tried to see the boy again, he had disappeared in just a few seconds. Anyway, we went to the party by another route. We think he was some kind of deceiving or misleading creature trying to mislead us. Thank God we didn't listen to him. This was my story, so I thought I'd share it with you. Thank you for sharing the story. I hope you liked today's stories. If you liked the stories, don't forget to like the video. And if you're new to my channel, do subscribe. Press the bell icon and turn on all notifications. This way, you'll become part of my YouTube family and get notifications of my stories. Take good care of yourself. Remember me in your prayers. See you in another interesting story. Good night.